Hey, book girlies. I'm Sarah.
Hey, gamer boys.
Oh my god.
Gamer guys. Gamer people. It's Ian.
And you're listening to a pod of sass and sarcasm. I'm afraid that I am going to making fart noises in this chair the whole time because every time I just slightly shift, it's like
Put this on it. It won't make noise.
You literally took the blankets off of it.
Yeah, because I thought I was going to sit in it, and I had a blanket on me, so.
Oh my god, Ian. This is going great. So for those of you who, this might be cut out. It might not. Who knows? We'll see how the wind blows. We are trying to be in a different room because in previous episodes we were in our living room and you could hear the traffic. It was kind of a problem. And some of our test episodes we did in our bedroom and they sounded too echoey. So we're just going from room to room in our house. Maybe next week we'll do it in the kitchen. Who knows?
All over the place.
We got our basement yet. Dude, that'd be so echoey down there.
Not if we do it in the clothing area.
True. That would actually probably be the best. I'm not moving all this stuff down there, though. Do I dare ask what you've been playing?
I think you already know.
I swear to God, if you say Warframe one more time.
I've been playing more Warframe.
Oh, joy. Do you actually have something to say about it?
Well, I could describe the convolutedness a little bit.
Please.
Okay. So the basic premise of the game is there's several factions all vying over control of this solar system.
Okay.
And it's in the far off future where things deviated sometime in the 70s.
Like 1970s?
Yeah, 1970s.
Okay.
So you, the player, are an operator.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be a little crass here. The operator is canonically autistic. And all Tenno are slightly autistic, which is you. Your faction is the Tenno.
Is 10-0 just 100? 10-0 is such a weird... Is it 10.0 or is it 10-0?
Spell.
10 with...
T-E-N-O.
Oh! Oh my god! Jesus Christ. You're yeah, it might be 100. What is it even...
I don't know. I was like, maybe. I don't pay that close attention.
No.
And your character and all characters are these pseudo dimensionally shifted people, so you have weird powers. So you possess your warframes, which is a robot essentially.
Okay.
But some of the robots have a consciousness, so it's really weird.
So they're sentient robots?
Some of them. Not all of them.
And it's more like sentience than AI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, things get very wishy-washy.
I love a wishy-washy warframe. There we go. I almost said wishy-washy warbler, but I was like...
Wishy-washy warblers,
Yeah, that's not a phrase.
And your faction just kind of does whatever it wants. It's sometimes you're allied with some people, sometimes you're not. Who knows? It's whatever you feel like doing that day. The last story mission I did was your mother / the Lotus has been absconded. And then your future self and your past self need to work together to save her from her other family.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really...
That is kind of convoluted.
Mm-hmm. So, in general, that's kind of what Warframe is. The only thing I've done is make new weapons and new Warframes.
So, new things for you to possess.
Yeah. Possessing things is called transference. You're transferring yourself into the Warframe, because you can, do it from a pod.
It kind of reminds me, and this is going to be probably the most, cringy connection that I'm making here, but, it reminds me of that movie Avatar.
It's kind of almost like that. It's pretty close to that.
Okay. Because, like, they would be, like, possessing these vessels from, like, a hub way far away from where they were where at least the main character
Yeah, and your character ends up getting, like, special powers. Some of the story missions, you get special powers where you actually realize that you're not the warframe, you're an operator or a tenno, and you can do in and out, and your operator gets a gun, too.
Oh, cool. Well, I feel like we have a few updates that we want to kind of get to before getting into the book. So some of these episodes might feel a little bit misplaced because they seem like stuff that maybe we should have mentioned back in episode 2 or episode 3. But we actually record our episodes a couple weeks in advance, so it actually seems like we're really far behind on putting these updates out, but we're technically ahead. It's just all kind of confusing and weird, so sorry about the mix-up with the timeline. But the first and foremost, we would really like to thank all of our listeners for giving us a try. I think we're maybe an acquired taste, but it's been really fun just sharing our ideas out here. And so thank you so much for listening and for sharing our podcast. And if you're feeling extra kind, please rate and review on whatever you're listening to us with. We are trying really hard to get onto other platforms right now. I think it's still just Spotify and Amazon Music. I'll maybe add an update in here if I get more done by episode 4. But we want to be available anywhere that you can find podcasts, and we would really like your rates and reviews to help us, be found by other people who are maybe looking for something like this. And also, like, kind of piggybacking off of that one, Amelinda Berube, who's the author of this book, also has a couple of other books, and I didn't mean to find this out. I like reading books blind. I don't like knowing anything about the author or what the book is about or anything like that. I mean, sometimes I do, but I would prefer reading things blind so that I don't get influenced by anything. But she does have a couple of other books, and most of her books are young adult fantasy. So that is actually, to me, very promising for this book, because we've been, like, scratching our heads trying to figure out, is there fucking magic in here?
Is this magic? Is this real life? Who knows?
Yeah, is this a true crime? Like, what's going on? Yeah, so, like, it might be magic. It might not. She might not do only YA fantasy, but yeah, so I just wanted to say that. That's something that she tends to do. So she's also, here's a fun update. Our author, Amelinda Berube, is following us on Instagram, which I'm so excited about.
Yeah.
And she also is really sweet and supportive of our podcast. She said that she's just wishing our podcast well, and she was like, "Thanks for the shout out." I was like, "Oh my gosh, thanks for following us. That's so great." So if you've been intrigued by our book. Or our book.
We have ownership now.
No.
We have partial ownership.
Amelinda Berube, please don't sue us. But I didn't mean to say that. She's been really, really cool, and it's been really cool to interact with her. And if you like her book, you should check out her other books or get a copy of this book. Also, just I don't want people to be put off by the fact that this is technically a YA novel. Because I feel like some people are, and they're like, oh, it's for kids, I'm not going to read this and whatever. YA gets so much hate, and it doesn't deserve it. Because just because the intended audience is teenagers doesn't mean that it's, bad in any way. And it doesn't mean that somebody who's, almost 30 is not going to find anything new. I enjoy this book a lot, even though I can't connect very well with the main character, because she bothers me a lot. But,
at least it lets you reminisce.
It does. It does let me reminisce. So I feel like there's something in it for everybody, and I know that I feel like I'm talking like an ad. This is not an ad. This is just me talking.
She did not give us a kickback for reading this book, but hey.
Hey, Amelinda.
Patreon's open.
Oh. Hey, Amelinda, do you want to become a patron? That'd be so great. Or anyone. That'd be super great. But I just really like this book, and I'm going to tell you when I like a book. You guys will know if I don't like a book. I'm not just saying this because, I feel, obligated just because our author is listening to this. No, if I don't like a book, I'm sorry. There's just no way that you're gonna know about it.
We'll all know.
And that's not to say that you guys can't like the books that I don't like or anything like that.
The police are going by.
They're coming for me because I said that it was our book. I didn't mean it.
All right.
Okay.
Tell me about these new chapters. You also never said what book this was again.
I literally have it up here as well. You gotta let me finish reading. I wasn't finished reading, man. Quick recap time. We are continuing with Amelinda Berube's Here There Are Monsters. See, it's literally written right there. You don't have to come at me, asshole. And in this story, Skye's sister Deidre is missing, but it is still unclear if she ran away, if she was kidnapped, if there was some kind of magic involved. I am leaning more and more towards the magic, though. We find out through flashbacks that Skye has a history of hating her sister for no reason and claiming to be her protector, but then not literally at all protecting her when it counts.
Yep, ever.
Last time we found out that there's an awfully large swamp near the family's new home. So like their house abuts the woods, and then there's a creek that runs through the woods that then looks like it empties into the swamp, and there's like a weird dead looking patch in that swamp, and that's kind of, that's the last that we've heard. Deidre, being the outdoorsy kid that she is, could easily get lost in the wilderness, but the police are honed in on a very small radius that doesn't even go into the woods, and it's more looking at the nearby residences, which is weird. We're also starting to unravel a little bit of the awkward tension between Skye and William and also some of the other friends in the group.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very clear that Skye and William like each other, but when the readers were first introduced to William, he was dropping off a casserole at Skye's house after Deidre had gone missing, and the two of them were hella ako taco. And I'm thinking something happened between them that we just haven't read about yet, but there's not a lot of time that we're given because they've only known each other for a couple months. Skye also feels like Deidre is specifically trying to send her a message now that Deidre is missing. She found her sword in Deidre's bed underneath all of the leaves, and she also found a bunch of mouse skulls lined up on the balcony porch thing on the railing for it. And so she thinks that Deidre is trying to send her a message from wherever she is. And of course, Skye finds a reason to once again leave her parents' house in favor of going to William's.
Yep.
So that's where we left off. Chapter 10 starts off with Skye arriving at William's house. And apparently she'd never been inside his house before, so she spends a little bit of time describing it. And it's kind of a new and exciting thing for her to be in this house. She's really starting to try to figure out who William is as a person. And William makes breakfast for her. And they, of course, start talking about Kevin's party, because remember, that was just yesterday.
Yeah, that was the night before.
Yeah. And, William asks Skye how she's doing. He's asking her about Deidre, and apparently, shortly after Skye left the party, the police broke up the party and gave Kevin a warning about the underage drinking that was clearly going on there. And Skye doesn't mention that she had her own run-in with the police because she doesn't want to be the reason that the party was busted. And then William also tells her that the police came by to his family's house the day previous to talk to his younger sister. So we actually met his younger sister when we met
the whole family.
When the whole family went to the Mackenzie's house.
Catan thing.
Yeah. But I didn't mention her previously because I didn't know if she was going to actually come into the story at all. But basically, William tells Skye that his younger sister Christina is in Deidre's class, and so that's why the police came to talk to her and figure out, what's going on. Oh God, I should read you this little line that I wrote. The readers were introduced to Christina, who's William's sister, back when the Wright family visited the Mackenzie home, back when Deidre basically hissed at William, and Skye and William definitely played Catan incorrectly. But she apparently told the police that Deidre is a real weirdo who doesn't really fit in, which, not shocking. That's what everybody's been saying so far.
Already knew all that.
Skye once again tries to slough off the blame and say that she couldn't make friends for Deidre, that Deidre was the one who was choosing to be weird, which, first of all, just strikes me as odd that there's not a single kid in their class that is interested in Deidre's fantasy world. Kids are weird. And while sometimes Deidre maybe takes it a little bit too far and is really quirky and weird about it, it does strike me as weird that everyone's like, oh, you're playing make-believe? run the other way. Like, there's not a single kid who's like, dude, tell me more about your kingdoms.
Yeah, that is a bit odd.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's, like, other stuff that she's doing that we're just not seeing or what, but I just find that a little bit weird. Unless she's literally hissing at people, like it was implied that she did to William.
Well, Kevin said she was casting hexes at people, or was that someone else?
No, that was Kevin. So, I mean, yeah, I guess she's probably doing some weird stuff, but, like, unless it's something that's, like, literally hissing at people. Because, like, I can imagine that there would be, like, somebody who would also be like, yeah, let's pretend that we're, like, casting spells and stuff. But also, Deidre does get very defensive when people say, like, oh, we're pretending. And she's like, no, this is real.
She says what?
She says, no, this is real. But also directing our attention to Skye, it isn't necessarily her job to make friends for Deidre.
Mm-hmm.
But it is her job to be her friend.
Yes.
And to protect her from some of the shit that she's clearly going through. And the fact that we literally see Skye avoid that job like the plague, it's super weird. And, like, I don't get why. I never understand what it is that Deidre's doing to make everybody so unhappy and to make Skye so fucking miserable and annoyed with all of it. So we never really see what Deidre does to be weird, and so I have a hard time believing that she's doing anything that's so horribly embarrassing that you can't defend her. I just don't get it. Like, so what if she plays pretend? So what?
Mm-hmm.
I don't, yeah. But moving on, because Skye obviously moves on from her little embarrassment pieces rather quickly. She's like, oh, that's embarrassing. We're going to not talk about that. And she again expresses guilt and confusion over falling asleep the night that Deidre disappeared. And so she's talking to William at this point, and she says, I was supposed to be in charge the other night when she went missing. My parents were out, and I fell asleep. I don't understand how it happened. I wasn't even tired. Like, 1 second I was bumming around on the group chat, and the next thing I know, it's almost midnight. I've just never passed out like that. Why did I have to pick that day to fall asleep? Which, I was very confused how this is the first time that we're talking about this, because I said that the first episode where I was like, was she drugged? Did something happen?
Mm-hmm.
And if it is magic, was there like some kind of creepy sleeping spell cast upon her?
Yeah, I'm excited you're about to say, William says, no, you kept talking to us, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, that doesn't. That would have been super spooky, though. The conversation quickly shifts to William and his weird family dynamics. His dad is coming home from a trip. I'm not really sure if it's a business trip or a hunting trip, but William currently has the house to himself because his mom and his sister are off picking him up at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And William isn't exactly happy that his dad is coming back. He says, like, it's nice when he comes home, sure, but it's also kind of a relief when he goes away again. When I stay silent, watching him, he continues a few words at a time. He's gone a lot, so he overcompensates, you know? He's always right here, and he puts his hand in front of his nose. In my face, there's always something. It's like I'm supposed to be this clone of him. I'm supposed to fit in exactly the same little box. The name's supposed to be some sort of cookie cutter. William Wright plays hockey. William Wright kills things. I don't want to be like him. He pushes the plate away and leans on the counter. I think my worst fear is that I'll wake up someday and discover that I've become William Wright V, having to be right all the time, turning conversations into competitions. I mean, you should get to decide who you're going to be, but did he decide once upon a time, or did he just... What if I don't have a choice, you know? Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I say it with enough feeling that he looks up at me, but when I don't elaborate, he waves a hand with a sheepish smile. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to go on and on about this. You've got worse problems. Except there's nothing I can do about any of them. Trust me, I'd rather talk about basically anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm like, Skye, you would have rather talked about anything else before Deidre went missing. So you just...
Yeah, we were in your brain for months now.
Yeah.
We are aware.
So the two of them go to sit out on the back porch on the swing where they cozy up underneath a blanket and have a very, Very awkward flirting session. Apparently, William used to date Sophie, who's the other girl in the friend group. And they broke up, apparently, because Sophie cheated, I want to say. I don't actually remember this conversation happening. And I went back to look for it, but I couldn't find it. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just might mean that I'm really bad at remembering stuff. At the Halloween party, there was some gossip about this other girl named Brittany who had stepped out on her boyfriend and someone caught them in the act. And Sophie is also, like, the gossip queen. Skye at one point describes her as a spider with her web of information that she casually and sometimes callously releases. At some point, Sophie told Skye that she and William used to date, and it was weird, and then they broke up, and I'm pretty sure that she cheated on William, and that's why they broke up. But it's weird to me that she and William are still friends, if that's what happened.
I think she probably just moved on to quote-unquote better prospects.
Probably. And while Skye and William are all cozied up on the porch swings, Skye just randomly brings it up to William, and he spills his coffee a little bit, and there's this very awkward but kind of adorable interaction that I obviously have to share with you.
It brings up that Sophie and him were dating once?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Sophie said you guys went out for a while last year, I say casually. The mug slips in William's hands, and he almost drops it in his lap. A little wave splashes out to soak into his jeans, and he swears, scrubbing at it. I hide a smile. Yeah, he manages. What did she say exactly? I shrug. That it was weird. Did she tell you why we broke up? The real reason? Yeah. He slurps at his coffee, frowning. Huh. Were you upset when you found out? It was kind of a relief, actually. It was weird. Like, we were both playing parts, and I'm not a very good actor. I didn't know how to talk to her anymore when we were dating, you know? Did you like her, though? I thought I did. It kind of evaporated on contact. Seemed like a good idea at the time, he shrugs. It wasn't the real thing. He looks briefly at me, then away. Silence hums between us. I lean back and watch him over the rim of my mug. I'm tempted to tell him, to just say it, almost reckless enough to go there to see where that conversation leads. Would he back into plausible deniability? Pretend not to know what I was talking about? What if he didn't? Deidre would hate it if I went out with William. She'd be incandescent with rage. The thought shouldn't be so satisfying when she's missing. When I'm the one who turned away from her. When she ran away to drag me back into being her defender. The same old anger comes bubbling up, thick and hot as magma. I should get to have a life. Why shouldn't I have friends? Or a boyfriend? But the thought chills quickly into ash. Maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe William deserves better than psycho Skye playing a part. Suddenly, the possibility hanging over us is stifling, and I don't want to face it after all.
Ooh, that was pretty good. I thought it was going to be more like, way to go, William. Because, like, he's saying, oh, I thought I did, but as soon as I said it, I did. And I was like, is that going to happen again?
Well, that's definitely, like, what...
Because I thought Skye was going to be like, this asshole, is he going to just immediately not like me anymore as soon as I say, hey?
Maybe. I mean, it's still a possibility. Who knows?
That was the thought I had. I was like, why are you saying that?
Yeah. Why did she bring it up in the first place, too? Like...
I think she just wanted to know.
I guess. It's just weird timing, too, with, like, Deidre. Like, you're really focused on seeing if he likes you when your sister's missing.
Well, yeah, they brought it up so she could have this reflection of, do I even deserve it?
I guess. I do think it's kind of interesting how she, like, brings up... She's like, why shouldn't I have friends or a boyfriend? But I'm like, it was very clear from the way that Deidre was behaving. Deidre wasn't necessarily upset about the idea of Skye having a boyfriend. She doesn't want William to be the boyfriend. She thinks that the Wrights and that whole family are invaders. So it's not like, I think it's really interesting that Skye is like kind of cherry picking what Deidre's having a problem with. And she's like twisting it and making it into what it's not. She's saying, oh, Deidre wouldn't want me to have a boyfriend. And it's like, no, Deidre doesn't want you to have William as your boyfriend. And so I think that's, like, I'm very cautious of William because so far he seems really nice and really sweet. But I don't know what it is about me that really trusts that Deidre knows what the fuck she's talking about. Because, like, on the one hand, we've been saying, like, well, maybe she's just being an obnoxious and, like, stubborn 13-year-old. But maybe she does know something that we don't.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll find out.
Yeah, I hope so.
If she's alive still. We'll see.
Yeah. So Skye quickly changes the subject and says, I came over here to shoot something, so let's get target practice going. Because remember, they do like their cute little bow and arrow stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like they start shooting stuff. They're both really off their game. They're like missing the target a lot. Then William's family arrives back from the airport. And it would have been kind of one of those cutesy catching your kids flirting with each other and they're like home alone and whatever. But it obviously turns somber quite quickly because, you know, Skye's sister has been missing for not even 2 days yet. That's one of the things that I'm having a hard time with this book because it's taking me so long to get through it, is that Deidre's been missing for less than 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep jumping back in time, which makes this feel like it's been happening for like a longer period of time.
Yeah.
But like legitimately, this is like, it would obviously turn very somber very quickly with like people being like, oh my God, how are you doing after your sister's gone missing like a day and a half ago? Like that's, you know, I think it's important to keep in mind that like it hasn't been that long since she's gone missing. So Bill, who is William's dad, William Wright the Fourth.
That's so cool, by the way.
I was waiting for you to like say something about William Wright the Fifth. So Bill makes a big stink saying that if they need to put a fire into the police department's asses, that they should just say the word and he'll make it happen. And Skye's like, yep, okay, mm-hmm.
She's missing a great opportunity here because he's a big hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, the police said they weren't looking in the woods.
You're right. Honestly, yes. That, if I were her, I would have brought it up to him. But maybe she doesn't trust him. I don't know. But, like, even so, like, that's a good point. Because they did say, like, yeah, we're going to be focusing in this 2-mile radius. We're right over here and whatever. And I think she probably could have said, like, yeah, Bill, like, put a fire under their asses. Make them broaden their search, you know?
Make them look in the fucking woods.
Yeah, exactly.
In the creek where children drown.
Oh my God, that's so morbid. Skye tries to politely excuse herself, not wanting to be away from home for too long is what she says, which I'm like, no, you want to be away from home as long as possible, but whatever, lie to people. And she quickly exits their house. I duck my head and make my escape. When I glance back from the corner of the house, Bill is drawing William's bow, demonstrating something. William stands there with his arms folded, smiling. I hadn't noticed how tired he looked before.
Because he was up all night drinking.
He was up all night drinking, but it's more going into the weird family dynamics between William and his dad. The two of them, like he was saying earlier, he feels like he's being pressured to be his dad. And he's like, I can't even kill stuff because the last time I went hunting, I puked over shit. And, you know...
So funny.
Whatever. I don't know how I would react. I've never gone hunting, so I wouldn't know. You?
Probably just fine.
I don't know. On her way back home, Skye starts thinking about the fact that Deidre was throwing out distress signals for a while, and Skye had just been ignoring them. She's been so preoccupied with, this isn't my fault, and how could anyone have known what was going to happen, that she hadn't previously thought about the fact that for at least 9 years, she was Deidre's best friend who knew her inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
Skye literally knew her better than anyone, and she goes, while she's like having these kinds of thoughts, she goes into the vacant lot by their house, because God forbid she actually spent any time with her parents. She's like, nope, I'm staying out of here. So she goes into the vacant lot.
Was there anything about why she started thinking this?
No.
Okay, so she's just in the lot.
She's
just kicking around and it goes.
Yeah, so she's like on her way back to her house because William and his family live right up the road kind of thing. And so she's just walking back and she doesn't really want to think about William and his family and their weird dynamics and stuff. So she's just coming back and just being like, you know, I think it's because she keeps...
blaming herself, not blaming me.
Yeah, blaming herself and then saying that there's no reason to blame herself, even though there kind of is. So she's kind of going through that, and then she starts thinking this, and while she's thinking this, she goes and veers off into the lot instead of going all the way home. There's no way you could have known. Right, you'd think that. You'd think that this would be the sort of thing that nobody could predict. Except I know Deidre better than anybody. There were signs, and if I'd been paying attention, maybe I could have read them. Maybe it wasn't just last night I missed a cry for help. Have the police found the clearing behind the castle yet? They haven't mentioned it, but there's no reason they should have said anything. It's not like it's evidence of anything, other than the extent of her weirdness. The thought of strangers there, poking through her domain.
You're struggling with the word domain?
Her-demern is
Her-demern.
poking through her-demern. The thought of strangers there, poking through her domain, raising their eyebrows, makes my stomach go cold. The tall dead grass of the empty lot whispers around me as I push through it to the heap of dirt at the far side. Deidre's influence there is obvious. The ramparts bristle with sticks wedged into the crumbling earth, woven with long, spiny thistle stalks, as if she was trying to pen the woods in, or wall all of us out. They cast reaching, spiky shadows in the long slant of the sunlight. The faintest trace of trail darts through the brush, around to the other side of the hill. Less a path than a path of least resistance. It leads under a pair of cedars canted together into a shadowed doorway. The space beyond is almost a room, no bigger than mine at home. A ring of shaggy trees surrounding twists of tall grass and the thin silver wisps of saplings reaching anemically for the sun. The light falls in slivers, shivering gold scraps slicing through the shade. It's colder here.
Ooh.
I get chilly. You also, every time that I read something, I look up at you and you go, ooh, in the same exact way every single time. It's really funny.
Do I have set dialogue? Am I just an NPC?
I just have cue cards for you.
Just holds them up. Say ooh now. Ooh.
Ooh.
Not say oh wow. I did find it interesting that she still refers to it as Deidre's castle and not just a pile of dirt.
Yeah.
So she's still thinking about it in terms that Deidre uses.
Yeah.
Which I find interesting.
I like how she describes the space here, but also, like you were mentioning, how she is still talking about it like it's Deidre's, which it is with when you hear, like, Deidre has definitely modified the space. It's no longer an empty lot. There's sticks that are being, like, made into a pen kind of thing. And
yeah, I'm just saying that if Skye didn't care about her at all, she would just say
the empty
Deidre's lot. Shit pile or Deidre's pile of junk. She wouldn't say her castle still.
True.
She would just call it something else.
Yeah. So Skye finds an altar of sorts that Deidre had created at some point.
Muscles.
And she seems pretty familiar with this altar, as if she's seen it before. And apparently there's something missing from it, but it doesn't concern Skye that it's missing, and she doesn't say what's missing.
It's the skulls.
She finds bones, like a femur, some chicken bones, some more mouse skulls, and and a deer skull, but nothing like I found here before. Nothing worth commenting on. And what was I planning to do if there was? I don't know what that means. I'm so confused by that line.
Oh, what was she gonna do if she found Deidre?
Not Deidre. Just nothing like I found here before. Nothing worth commenting on. So, like, if she found something worth commenting on, what was she... Like, I don't know. It's a very bizarre line. I don't know what it means. So I'm very curious about what was there before, because she says specifically nothing like what I found before here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also confused because other than thinking it was super weird, why would she be worried if anybody else found it? Whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't know.
As she looks around the clearing, she finds that her dress that she should have worn to, I'm assuming, homecoming or some kind of school dance, had been cut into strips and hung from the topmost branches of the cedar trees. And she's like, I fucking knew that Deidre took that dress. I could never prove it before, but I fucking knew she took my dress. God damn it. And then she's like, well, wait a minute. How the fuck did Deidre get those strips up that high in the tree? And while she's, looking up, trying to figure out what the hell Deidre was doing with her dress, she hears the faint tinkling of a bell.
Ooh.
Like the kind
I
of
just got
cat. But I didn't read this time, so that's fine. So she hears the faint tinkling of a bell like that a cat would have on its collar. And of course, she runs deeper into the woods to follow it. And meanwhile, I'm over here being like, don't follow the bell into the woods. That's a fairy or a murderer or something nefarious and horrible that's going to hurt you. That sounds like such a lure. And I'm so scared and so stressed.
Or alternatively, it's a random hiker with a bear bell on.
That would be pretty funny. It's somewhere back there, in the tangle of the trees. I push my way through the cedar circle into the brambles beyond. Their claws snag in my coat, my hair. This close, face to face with them, you can't see it. It's not really accurate to say that the woods are motionless. They're moving constantly, in 1,000 tiny ways. Reeds sighing, branches trembling under sprinting squirrels. A crow cocks its head to look down at me from high up in a pine tree. So she starts calling out to the cat, and she's convinced that it's her family's cat, Mog, who's been, again, missing for a few weeks. She's running deeper into the woods and getting snagged on branches and getting the burrs stuck on her and all of that kind of stuff. And as she's about to jump over what she at first assumed was a lump of dead grass, she stops, noticing the collar and the fur that is draped over the bones like wet cloth, is how it's...
That's a pretty good descriptor, actually.
Yeah. She reels, obviously not wanting to look at her dead cat, and decides that she's not going to look any closer, not wanting to know how she died. She tried to tell herself that at least this was closure, but then she gets caught up in thinking that she doesn't want the closure that she now just received with her cat Mog to be the same fate that Deidre has.
Mm.
She insists that Deidre is somewhere out there and she's coming home. And she's apparently going to stop sitting on her thumbs and is actually going to do something to help her sister, finally, because you and I have been like, you keep saying you care about your sister, but I don't know if you do, because you've been doing absolutely, like, nothing this whole goddamn time. So she's finally going to do something to help her sister.
Back to the altar.
My thing is, what was she following? Because that cat has clearly been dead for, like, a couple weeks if the, like, skin is sagging over the bones and stuff like that.
Yeah, we knew it's been gone for a couple months.
It's been missing for a couple weeks. Like, since, like, mid-September, maybe early October kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But, like, what was she... Like, she heard a bell, and she thought it was her cat, so what the hell was she following? If it wasn't her cat, because her cat's been there, dead, for... like, at least a couple days, if not longer.
Magic.
I love my note to myself. I'm over here like, then what the fuck were you following? You thought it was your cat, but it clearly wasn't. Fuck your closure. What the fuck is going on? Where are you? Are you safe?
Where are you?
That's my like, you're deep in the woods. Do you know where you are? Like, again, luckily Skye comes to the same point that I did of like, oh shit, what was I following? Slyly, somewhere in the reeds, the bell twinkles out at me, slinking closer. I freeze, my neck prickling, listening to it pace restlessly around me. But I'm being ridiculous. So I've been chasing somebody else's cat. No wonder it's not coming when I call. Still, I'm suddenly aware that the house has disappeared behind me. The sound of the helicopter vanished. I'm not panicking. I know the way that it came. I slap my way through the underbrush, trying to recognize the shapes of the tree trunks, the placement of broken stumps, clumps of moss. Finally, I spot a cluster of cedar trees leaning together, alarmingly, off to my right. Somehow, I almost veered off course. Breathless with relief, I hurry out of the clearing, back the way I came. I kick a couple of the stones out of the circle as I pass, hurting my foot. My parents don't need to know about this. It would just upset them. It isn't anything that they don't already know. It definitely isn't a sign.
Ooh, yes, it is a sign. You are being hunted by a fairy.
You were being hunted by something right there. That was so fucking spooky. I don't like that at all. That makes me so... I'm gonna have some nightmares about this.
It brought you away to a different kill site.
Well, and it literally, like, disoriented her, where, like, she Because she had mentioned before going in there, I didn't read this part, but like she was like, I've gotten so used to the helicopter hum of, stuff like that. The fact that we both just look at it and don't even like... Anyways.
Yeah,
but then it like disappeared. Like she didn't hear the sound of it anymore. Like to me, I'm like, oh my god, you like walked into a different realm.
Yeah, and then the other thing that you said right at the end, she knocked over a rock from the circle. Mm-hmm. That's bad.
And just like the fact that like she was like, I thought the cedar trees were not going to be on my right, and that's where they are. Like,
yeah.
And so I'm like, is that how Deidre got lost?
Yeah, that actually happens to me all the time in the woods. I'm like going towards where I want to, but it's kind of hard to like get there. Mm-hmm. And so I end up going, I know what I'm looking for, but it's way over there. I've almost gone past it.
Oh, so that's not a magical intervention thing happening to her?
Well, in this context, I think it is, but I'm just saying in real life, that happens. You go, I was going for this trail. I thought I was going to poke out here, but I'm like a little bit off.
Yeah. I don't know what the creepy cryptid monster in the woods is in this story. Like, I'm like leaning much more heavily towards this is some kind of paranormal fantasy thing happening. Rather, like earlier when I first started it, I assumed it was more true crimey. But I'm leaning more towards the fantasy side of things, just with some of the stuff that's been said. Also, just because I know that this author is known for YA fantasy books. But I wonder if, because we're getting, like, I'm like a third of the way through the book, are we going to find out what this spooky monster is? Or is it going to remain a spooky mystery?
It might be a spooky mystery the whole book.
That would really both be very upsetting, but also very, like, tastefully done, I feel like. The other thing is that it does feel very fairy-like and fae. And fairy stories have been very popular recently, and this is, like, well done fairies. Like, this is what we are supposed to feel about fairies. Fairies are supposed to be scary, and they're supposed to trick you into whatever,
into death, pretty much, usually.
Yeah. And so, sorry, that bug flew and it scared me.
All right, Hank Hill. Whoa!
So having read a few of the fairy stories that I have recently, this is really refreshing, if this is a fairy. And if it's not a fairy, it's still very refreshing and very scary. And I am shooketh. I'm not having a good time. I mean, but I am. It's really good writing, but it's like, dude, my heart was pounding. I was so scared. Because like you were saying, like getting lost in the woods is already a very real possibility. And then add on top of it the spooky element. I'm like, I don't like this. I definitely don't want to be here anymore. One thing that I find odd is that she doesn't ever want to tell her parents about anything. So back in whatever chapter it was, she was like, I'm not telling my parents that we got attacked by teenagers. And I'm like, why not?
Why not? Your parents will probably help you recover your stuff.
Yeah.
Don't you want to punish the other people for
and then
hurting you?
And then this being like, I don't want to tell my parents because it's just going to upset them. And it's, I like on the one hand, like, not telling them about the cat, okay, fine. But, like, not telling them that you almost got lost in the woods, like, that's...
Oh, that one I understand not telling. I almost got lost out there. They're going to be like, why were you out there? I told you not to go out there.
Oh, I guess, yeah, her dad did say don't go out into the woods.
And the police did, too.
Did they?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm confused of what she's afraid of with telling her parents stuff. Obviously, there's going to be some loss of privileges and freedom if she tells them about some of the stuff that she's been doing and what's been going on. But again, I still don't think that's worth holding on to while your sister is missing. If this story does involve magic, which it really, really seems like it does, I get that there's going to be the let's keep the magic a secret part. If magic isn't real, why would you hold on to this kind of... I would... If it were me... I mean, I don't know if I would be going out into the woods if my sister was missing. But if it were me in this situation and I went out into the woods while my sister was missing from also going out into the woods, I would be like, Mom, Dad, I went out in the woods and there was some scary shit. There's a bell. I don't know what to do about... Like, our cat is dead. Like, I don't know if I would be telling everybody everything. But I get that she doesn't have the same relationship with her family that I do with mine. I have to keep reminding myself of that. But sometimes it feels like she's trying to, like, say that she's doing people a favor by not telling them things.
Yeah,
It's like she's trying to paint herself as this hero then. And she would seem like the hero if she went out into the woods without telling anybody and then found Deidre and only later said, yeah, I found the dead cat and that led me to this clue. And then voila, there she is. Aren't I so nice for saving everyone from the heartache and the hassle of all... Like, that's literally what it feels like sometimes, where she's like, oh, telling them would just upset them. And I'm like, yeah, but it could also provide crucial information.
Of like, yeah, I found our dead cat. Maybe you should go look over there.
Yeah, because maybe Deidre also found the dead cat and is upset and is nearby.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Like, I just... Let people do their job. Let the police do their job. And so that was all chapter 10.
Oh, wow.
I don't like it. This is very scary for a young adult novel, I will say. Like, I am, like, sufficiently spooked, and I am an adult. I pay taxes.
Gives me the heebie-jeebies.
It does. It's so... I don't know how to feel about it. And, Did we learn anything today?
Author's pretty good at giving me heebie-jeebies. Yeah, I felt chills a couple times, especially when you're reading passages, but sometimes when you weren't, you were just describing it, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah?
As we can, I guess I did learn something.
Hmm.
My default is to go, ooh.
Yeah, that's an interesting default you have. I learned that Warframes is kind of like the movie Avatar.
Yeah.
In concept. In practice, not so much. Like, it's very, very loosely like that.
Yeah.
But
it's a decent way to describe it, yeah.
Yeah.
The dogs agree.
Oh my god, I just remembered about that scene from last week where we were talking about that there was like the canine unit, which, by the way, I'm sorry that every time I said the canine unit last time, I was reading it and it was written like K, the letter K and the number 9, not like canine like the dog, meaning canine kind of thing. And I was listening to myself say K9 instead of canine. You know what I mean? Like, do you hear the difference there?
Not really. But that's okay.
Well...
Because it is the K9 unit.
Yeah. But you're supposed to say it like K9 unit.
No.
That's how everybody else says it.
It's the government, so it's stupid.
You're stupid.
I don't work for the government.
Your face is stupid.
How dare you?
Oh, what was I saying? Oh, K9 unit. First of all, I just wanted to apologize for saying it K9 unit. Every time I was reading it though, so every time I said it, I was like, I was seeing it, and that's how it comes out when I see it like that. But also, there's
You just throw your fucking tablet on the ground.
Oh my god. This one has been a clusterfuck of a recording, so we'll see how this goes. I'm so sorry if this episode is very discombobulated. But anyways, there was that scene, though, with the canine unit that it, like, freaked out near the garden. You remember? I'm so curious what's going on. Because then Skye's mom had also been, like, poking at the garden with her shovel, like, way early on, too.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on in the garden?
Ooh. Yeah, what is going on in the garden? Are you ready for our socials?
Yes.
Please check us out at our Instagram, which is...
At a pot of sass.
Send us an email.
At apotofsass@gmail.com.
And check out our Patreon.
Patreon.com/apotofsassandsarcasm.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Also, you can find us on, at the very least, Spotify and Amazon Music. I'm hoping by the time this episode comes out, I will have figured out how to get us on every other platform. So rate us, review us, tell your friends about us. You could tell them that we're awful, and maybe they'll be like, I don't believe you, and they'll listen. Or you could tell them that we're great. I don't know. Whatever you feel like saying we are. But please rate and review. It helps us get on the charts and get in people's ear meat. And
ear meat? Ew.
In their ear holes. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. We hope you keep listening. And we hope you stay sassy.
Later.